Well, it looks like she's just about come to an end. The big Ford G6. She's not at the end. She's at 377,000 k's, and they go to 400,000, and that's the end of them. She's starting to take a little bit of coolant, not much. I just put a bit in every week. Just a plain old water. Diaphragm problems with the gas system, which means you got to hold the key on. Unfortunately, they have a thing built in where they don't keep spinning the starter motor against your main crankshaft gear there. So that's not a problem, but you got to keep the key held on because the diaphragm's got to pop out. Because if it doesn't before the ignition key comes off, then the thing just turns the engine off as like a safety feature. So yeah, I sit there holding the key on for another 15 seconds every damn time. The ignition is also turned to shit. They do that. I think it's the switches inside the ignition barrel. So we have hotwired in a starter button to the bloody thing. So she's a bit of a... You got to hope she goes all right when you turn the key on. I hit the starter and the starter button, like the key start and the push button at the same time. Take your finger off the push button as soon as it's started, but hold it on like you're still trying to crank it with the key, and give it another 15 seconds till that diaphragm pops out. That's because it's old. It's done many miles. I think these you're really meant to probably change the gas converter system somewhere through it, which is only an $1,800 unit, no big deal. Bloody hell. And that's where the coolant leak's coming from too. Fortunately, dripping to the outside, not the inside. Otherwise, you'd end up with a real engine issues. Yeah, she just about run a race anyway. So I reckon February or April it will be game over, because it's not too long before the piston rings turn to shit around 400,000, couple of thousand miles, a couple of thousand kilometres either side of that. Might be 397, might be 403. So I have also the price of LPG slash propane butane mix that this thing runs on, and it only runs on that. There's no fuel injectors, there's no petrol tank, never was. It's funny with the inlet manifold in the next slightly advanced version, which is a slightly different bumper setup. They have a plastic inlet manifold. These have the aluminium cast manifold. But you got the dimples there where they're supposed to machine in the thread for the injectors, and they're just left as is with this one because there's no injectors in it. It's not an Eco LPI, which is an injected LPG. This is a old vapor style system, and it's the very last of those. In fact, there's not a great deal of them. I think it was only 6 months or a year of this model where it had it. But this was a company car that was bought so early. I believe it was ordered before they come out. I think it was bought without a test drive. And there's recall stickers for the minor things that happen. The tail shaft is not the standard tail shaft. The tail shaft is the one they had for the Ute, which is a better one because it's not a big sealed by the whole thing. You can replace the your bearings, your little universal joints individually with this one, which is good in that way. But the paint's really turning to shit on the boot. On the roof, for the first time ever, I've noticed it's been buffed and you can see swirl marks. And it's probably because the paint's starting to deteriorate there. Another thing that's interesting is the fender that you can see on the front there versus the hood, the bonnet, are a different colour. And I also had a new air cleaner box put on it. Well, it was actually one out of a Wrecker because it had the little white paint pen. And the grill has a crack running right the way through it. It's very close to collapse, but it didn't actually collapse. I think they've had a little doozy where something smashed into the hood of this. Maybe the work truck had a bit of, scaffold planks on or whatever, and maybe just the height of the truck, it reversed into it and smacked the frickin' hood to bits and broke the air cleaner box. So they put a second-hand air cleaner box on and a new hood. And it's obvious because the paint is way better on the hood, and it seems to be a different colour because the rest of the paint's fading, but the hood isn't. Yeah. Also explains why the grill's so fucking cracked. But you only notice it when you look up close. But honestly, if a lousy bird hit that grill, it would just cave into the radiator. It's that fucking shit. It's been like that since I bought it. Also, I get a fair few stone chips on it. And also, when I bought it, after a few months in the right light, like as, dusk as the sun's going down, you notice there's a horrendous amount of touch-up paint from previous stone chips, and of course I've added to it. Anyway, let's get this bitch off the screen and get the new one up. No, not this one. This one's one my parents are hiring. Hybrid Corolla 2025. I'm not that rich, but I am this poor. Well, actually, I'm rich enough to buy a new car, but we won't go there because I don't like wasting money. 2013 Hyundai i20, and this is really, really low miles. 47,000 kilometres. For a 12-year-old car, that's like 30,000 miles for a 12-year-old car. Holy hell. And it seems that way legitimately because there is not a single scratch on this thing. I'm not joking. It is so flawless. The only stuff up is no mat on the driver's side carpet, so she's rubbed a little bit. And then your internal door handle, they got this fake, like your plastic chrome, that's flaked off and it's just plain old cream plastic underneath it. So most of that's flaked off of the driver's door. I think it's still complete on the passenger's door. She's a 3-door. When I extend that seat back, I'm not joking, it's another 6-8 inches further back than the big Ford. Big Ford's a 4-litre 6-cylinder. This one here is a 1.4 4-cylinder. Now, most of these come with a 1.2 overseas, and you could get the 1.4 here. This is a facelift. This is the last of the model that started in 2008, and I think 2012, 2013 they had the facelift, so your lights are completely different from your 2008 to 2011. And I think they only had the 1.4 in the facelift one. What I do know is they only had the 6-speed for the 1.4, and this is a 6-speed manual, and holy frickin' cow, the top speed the people manage in Germany with a 1.2 is 190 k's an hour. This would easily do that. I was test driving it, and I was in 5th gear at 122 k's an hour in, well, just doing that even in the normal speed zone. I was in a not full speed zone, and I mean, I was going license disqualification levels of fast in this thing because I want to make sure it was freeway good. I don't want to, the Suzuki Centrino, or whatever the friggin' thing's called, the one before the Alto, they only had like a 4-gear gearbox and a 1-litre 3-cylinder. And they reckon by the time you got to 100 k's an hour, it was really hard. It was straining the engine. It was really only made to go to 80. You get to 95 and you can hear the pressures on. You're at 100 and its pressure's definitely on. So here I was, 5th gear doing 122. I think you could do 160, i.e. 100 miles an hour, without a problem in the world in 6th gear. And I believe that people are doing that in the 5-gear manual. So the 6th gear would be a cinch to do it. I've seen an Indian put up a video. He's doing 175 in it. And a German was saying they do 190 on the Autobahn. There is no trouble with speed. These have the electric power steering. It feels a little bit different. It's not bad, but when you're going slow, it does feel different from your normal hydraulic power steering. It's got a little tab on the gearbox to put it in reverse. Like you got a tab on the stick that you flick up to put it in reverse. That may well be a 6-gear gearbox thing because it's quite rare to see that in any videos. And I don't believe there's a great ton of 6-gear manuals for this model. It was more a 1.4 only, and I think it was more common in the next model after. So it really was kind of a new gearbox for this, but this is sort of the last year of this model. She got the Bluetooth, both the phone system, and I'll find out that it's got the music as well. Someone's doing a video showing you can play the music through it. That is good. Mine only has the phone, and my parents' one, which is the next model in the base model, for the Ford I'm talking about, they have the music, but it's a bloody bitch. You've got to manually pair the thing half the frickin' time, pissing through the damn radio manual every time you drive it. It's kind of stupid. Whereas this one's, it seems to be easy from how I was shown it to be used. What's very interesting, I don't know if this is an Australian thing. You see most of them with the steering wheels have like volume control for the radio and all that, and a cruise control. There's buttons on the steering wheel. The one an Australian showed as a hire car, which I worked out, he kind of went through how to use the Bluetooth. That has no buttons on the steering wheel. Mine has no buttons on the steering wheel. I'm slightly pissed it doesn't have cruise control. I'm seeing if I can get it installed as an aftermarket thing. My mechanic hasn't texted back, but I'll go visit him when I take delivery of it, which is only a few days away from when you're probably hearing this. It's probably 5-6 days away from when you see this. $8,000 in my world, that's like about 7 weeks' pay, and that's pretty good. And I tell you what, she's it took a second to get used to the manual. The clutch isn't a grab clutch. Your clutch is sort of almost on or off. It's sort of, you can't really feel the point where it picks up like most clutches. So it's a 1.4 litre Gamma engine, which was also the newer model of engine, which wasn't sort of available pre-facelift, I believe. And yeah, she good little machine. I wouldn't say she's super powerful, but she's not too bad either. Like it fairly, like if you put the boot in, she fairly winds into it. It's not as powerful as the Ford. It's not like some super, roar off acceleration, but it doesn't stuff around either. It's not too, it's not sluggish either. It gets its act together. It's not a performance vehicle, but it certainly gets its act together when you start putting a foot into it. And of course, I did going on test drive. Air conditioning. Apparently, the air conditioning's a bit weak in them. I'm just going to have to live with that. I'm not happy about the cruise control, and I will try not to be living with that. Bluetooth, I'm happy though. And I'm definitely happy with the blimmin' how far the seat goes back. And full-size spare wheel, which for a lot of them is common. I've seen one case in England where they had a space saver, but it's very common with these to have the full-size spare. It just... I was going to go to get a Honda Jazz, and someone had done a test drive and already, was on a test drive and about to buy it. And he said, I'll ring you back if they don't, and I never got a call back. So I went and got this one instead. And I tell you what, like 47,000 Ks. Every other I think the lowest mileage I've had in any other car was 189,000. So this thing is as fresh as they bloody come. In my world, like I was driving this, it was like driving a hire car. It was like driving a brand new vehicle, and I've never had anything this low mileage. It's probably not going to last to 400 like the Ford. I expect about 300, maybe 350. 15,000 kilometre oil change, but a motor reviewer's website says 10,000. So stuff it, I'm going to do it at 7, and we'll see if we can get the bastard to 350. If it doesn't go to 400, so be it. The clutches don't last terribly long on them either. And apparently there's a bit of a problem with the pinion in the steering system that does occur in them eventually. The 1.2 has timing chain issues, the 1.4 doesn't. It's actually a really good engine, except it just doesn't have super long longevity. But with more regular oil changes, I hope to beat that pretty well. I don't think I'm going to wear the clutch out because most people use these for city driving. I'm going to be doing a lot of free road driving in fifth gear for bloody 80% of me, well, maybe 70% of my driving will be just stuck in fifth gear. So I'll rack the miles up, but I probably won't destroy the clutch. I got a manual because I don't believe small car automatics will handle the hills that I am living on here, which is why I got a manual. I also find out that if you get the automatic of this, it is a bit sluggish because the automatic tends to drain a fair bit of power. If you get the manual, she's still got a bit of zip about it. But yeah, I'm pleased. Holy shit! I come back from doing a test drive and I was quite impressed. I thought this thing is friggin' spot on. So, and oil changes. It's literally half the amount of oil that the Ford takes. I mean, the Ford's like 6.8 litres. This is 3.3 litre oil change. The tyres will be bloody cheap. I'm sure I will wear them out pretty quickly. Most people in this country do about 25,000 kilometres a year. I do about 50. So we're going to run it. The Ford in the gasoline/petrol version has I believe it's an 85 litre tank. This has a 45 litre tank. So everything in it is about half. But at the end of the day, I still get to work on time and probably still over the speed limit. So that works all right. The big kicker with the Ford is the price of this LPG and propane. If you wanted to drive one of those big cars and you live out in the country, you do a lot of miles. The thing is, on petrol, it'll start costing you. On gas, it was half the cost of petrol, so then it was affordable to the point that you were paying about as much as you were to drive a Corolla or a car maybe slightly bigger than this. That has now risen to the point that driving my mother's one when I had another gas system issue in the Ford, I drove hers for 2 weeks, and I think it was about another $20 to $25 a week more. It was like $70 versus $90, apparently. My father told me that I had said previously on a phone call with him. And maybe 95, whatever. What's $5? The point is, it's almost not worth economically worrying about LPG. It's not that much more for gasoline/petrol, but it'll be $5,000-$6,000 to get a car like that converted. So what it basically means is you're now at a point where LPG is so expensive that instead of it being cheaper, like instead of it being equivalent to running a small car or small car slightly bigger than this Hyundai, it's now more expensive. So that's why I made the move back to gasoline/petrol because it's more expensive. Now, some engines like LPG, some don't. And the Ford is renowned for liking it. Some of the GMs don't. Although there are some special, like factory-built GM engines that take it. Including your 3.6 litre, which is renowned for your timing chain issues. I saw one there for sale and I thought, yeah, and then you're going to get timing chain issues, aren't you? At the end of the day, this is a cheap car. The parts are incredibly cheap on this thing. And I'm going to be spending less on petrol than I am on propane/LPG. So So she was kind of a no-brainer. That's unfortunate how the cost of it slowly crept up. It was meant to be a tax that was going to subsidise people getting it converted, and I thought this is a bad idea. And it was a bad idea because now it's so expensive, you question if the paying half the cost of the conversion is even worth doing anymore. And quite frankly, it's just not. And like all your LPG propane cars, they have their niggles. Mine's factory built. It still has issues because in the decompression of the LPG, you get an oil build-up, which is exactly why I ended up driving my mum's petrol/gasoline version for 2 weeks because the bloody oil build-up stuffed it up and it wouldn't run properly. And that's the second time the bastard's done that on me. Hopefully we'll be right now because it's been done, and I think the piston rings will give out next. So anyway, that's that. I probably will get another big Ford because the Hyundai van, the transmission has shit itself. So, but I want at least one reliable set of wheels that I know isn't dying or dead. And so, I'll pick this up this coming Saturday. And I'll get my mechanic to check over if there's any little things that need doing, check what the brake pads are like, check the plugs. I'm starting to get a few bits and pieces together for this thing, including a very good USB with the fast charge option. I got one of those today for this car. I think most of the other things are right. I do need to get seat covers. I got a mat already. And if I need another mat, I'll just cut out a bit of carpet because I've got a roll of carpet here. I'm friggin' pleased, and I'll be turning up in something that's, turn up to work in something that's fresh, something that's low mileage, something you don't have to worry about. Hopefully I don't have to worry about anything for the next 5 years with this thing, and even if it's the next 3 years, but none of this sort of, there's also a battery drain issue on the Ford. So you're cranking it and it's like, oh, here we go, slow crank, are we going to get it going? It's like, once you get it going, it's like, whew. The gas system didn't shit up. I've started it with a button. The battery had enough power left in it because it hadn't done the battery drain thing again. Fuck the Ford, its days are coming to an end.